What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, live for your Week 12 NFL Power Rankings, ranking every NFL team from the worst to the best, number 32 to number 1. Let me know in the comments where you rank your favorite team. Are they the worst team in the league? Are they the best team in the league? Somewhere in the middle, in the playoff conversation? Let me know in the comments, and we will get to your comments later at the end of the video. But first, what I ask from you is to, of course, spike that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new for more weekly NFL Power Rankings. Also, spike that notification bell for the latest live stream just like this. All right, guys. You could follow me and the channel on social media at TheBottomLineView. If you want an alternative take for the top 10 teams, you could check out the BottomLineView Insta, where we have Ultra's top 10 teams, and that is every week on Instagram. You can also follow me on Twitter, where I tweet about football every day, at Mitch Milani, M-I-L-A-N-I on Twitter. Okay, guys, we are back with our Week 12 Power Rankings. Let me know how you're feeling about the league right now, who you think is standing out in the contender conversation, because that's kind of what these next few weeks are going to be about, is truly determining who the contenders are from the pretenders. And that's what I'll try to achieve in this video. So let's get rolling with our NFL Week 12 Power Rankings. Let me know how you're feeling, how you're doing in the live comment section. Let's see who's in here. Chris, what's up? We got Is it Yo Nels? Bro, I don't know how to say your name, but what's going on? I know he's a Panthers fan, though. Nice to see you guys. What's up? And let's get going with the top 32. All right. So, at last place, we actually have a change at number 32. It's very interesting. Very interesting. I finally made a change to the 32nd spot. So, Texans fans, be happy, because I made a move. At number 32, we've got the Detroit Lions. Yep, the Lions have been at 31 for basically the entire season. But I have dropped them officially to number 32, right? I was willing to give the Lions some time to pick up their first victory. But the thing is, it has yet to happen. And they, yes, have a tie, so they're not winless, right? Or they are winless, but they're not going to go without all of their games being losses, right? That's what I'm trying to say, however you say that properly. English isn't a strong suit at this moment in time. But the Detroit Lions, I feel, just have been dreadful. I mean, last week they have an opportunity where they hang in the game. They hang in the game with the Cleveland Browns, a team with superior talent. Certainly play hard. The game's a close game. It's a one-score game once again, and they've done this many times. But good teams figure out ways to win those games, and the Detroit Lions are simply not a good team. You know, as much as they'll be in close games, they never really come out on top, and they never really appear to look to be in control of any football game they play in. And that's a problem, and that speaks to talent. That speaks to a lot of different things. Obviously, they don't have the quarterback. They don't have the playmakers. And the Lions, once again, drop a game that is close on the scoreboard, but doesn't really feel close in your mind. And that's why the Detroit Lions are last. Because if you were to say to me, Mitch, who's a team every week that you would never, ever pick for an upset? And it's almost always the Lions. Like, there's other teams that are bad in this league, like the Houston Texans, but there are moments where I think about them as a potential upset candidate. The Lions never appear to be an upset candidate. Now, I will say they play the Bears this week, which we'll talk about the Bears in a second here. They also stink. So if there was ever an opportunity, it could be on Thanksgiving. So at number 32, dead last, the Detroit Lions. At number 31, we have the New York Jets. Now, this is also a change, but I feel there is no team out there playing worse football at this moment in time than the New York Jets. I think Robert Saleh has done an absolutely horrendous job as the head coach. I think the offensive coordinator, LaFleur, has done an absolutely horrific job with the offense. The offensive line, of course, has sustained some injuries, but honestly hasn't been as horrific as last year, but still very, very bad. I like what I see out of Michael Carter. I like what I see out of Elijah Moore. Now, if Zach Wilson can get going for a strong late season push here to enter his second year, maybe we can talk about an offseason and building this team up into the next season. But I'm not sure how long it's going to last with this current coaching staff, because I don't think it's it. I don't think they are the solution whatsoever. Defensively, they are the worst defense in football. There is no way around it. There is no doubt about it. They are very bad on that side of the football. So they are, to me, the worst team in the AFC right now at number 31. And if you're asking, oh, the Jags, the Texans, how I evaluate this is, well, first off, Vegas has the Texans favored over the Jets. And then secondly, I think if you were to say who wins, the Jets or the Jags, I'd probably lean towards the Jags as well. So I've got the Jets at 31. At number 30, the Jacksonville Jags. So we just discussed them in relation to the New York Jets. The difference for me there is not much. I mean, Jacksonville's coaching is still one of the worst in football. I feel like the defense, though, at least that side of the ball, has been coached up better. But the offense leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, this offense is extremely underachieving. I understand they lost DJ Chark and they lost Travis Etienne, but I really don't think either of those players would be making a significant difference to this offensive production. And I think a lot of fingers are being pointed at Urban Meyer, and so they should. But I don't think enough people are taking into account that Trevor Lawrence is simply not playing as the expectation that lied with him of being a generational quarterback. I understand that he has a bad team and a bad system and all this stuff. But if he's truly a generational talent, the product should be better, at least offensively, with this team. I don't care about the wins and loss record, because I understand they were going to suck regardless. But when I came into this season, I was projecting at least a better offensive output. And this year, the Jags have failed to score in almost every game they've played. Even versus the worst defenses they've played, they have lacked offensive production. I like what I see from the defense for the most part, although they did get shredded by the 49ers, but it's seemingly the Rams did as well. So I'm going to give them a pass for that. But they're still really bad, but at least they have a little bit of a spark, and they've played a couple games this year where you're like, oh, hey, they've won this game, or they've pulled off the upset here and there. So that definitely separates them from the bottom two, in my opinion. At number 29, the Houston Texans. Now, the Texans have moved up from number 32, where they've been at basically all season long, to number 29. The Texans, I just feel like with Tyrod Taylor there and with the veterans they have offensively and the coaching staff, I think specifically Lovie Smith is doing a very good job. And I think the difference between the Texans and the bottom other three teams, are the Texans don't beat themselves. Like, the reason the Texans lose is because they lose. Like, they suck. Like, they're out-talented. They don't get, like, outworked. They don't no-show. They don't turn the ball over. They don't, like, they're not sloppy necessarily when Tyrod is in the game. Right? They just lose because they are inferior. And, yes, they're bad. But you saw against the Titans that they're capable of upsets, right? And I think a lot of people are talking about the Titans, and I think they should be talking about them regressing right now and not playing as good a football. But that's not just on the Titans. That's also on the team that went into their home building and beat them. And you got to give a little bit of respect and a little bit of credit to the Texans. So at 29, I've got Houston. At number 28, I've got the Chicago Bears. They're the second worst team in the NFC. They stink. They're dreadful. And of course, guys, this is in current form. Their offense is just, again, lacking any sort of creativity, flair, anything. Al Robinson hurt. Al Robinson's kind of been off the radar all year. The only real weapons I see out there on a weekly basis are Darnell Mooney and David Montgomery. Everybody else is stale. The quarterback position, I don't really think there's much of a difference between Fields and Dalton. It's just a different way of getting things done. I honestly think Dalton might be an upgrade, but that's obviously just for right now. The defense has taken major steps back because of the losses that they've sustained to injury. And that's totally understandable. They have some very good players that are hurt. But when I'm doing these power rankings, especially at the bottom, I'm ranking their current form. So at number 28, I've got to go with the Bears just because they're lacking a lot of talent right now on both sides of the football. At number 27, I've got the New York Giants. And you guys know I come on here every week and I say the Giants, when they get so-and-so back, when the Giants are healthy, this and that. Finally, guys, the Giants, of course, sucked on Monday Night Football, and that's why I lowered them here. We expected them to get, blown out by the BUCS. The BUCS were 11-point favorites, but I would have liked to have seen a bit more of a competition. But Jason Garrett's gone. He's finally gone. Thank God, right? Jason Garrett has been horrendous for this football team and the growth of Daniel Jones. And I think a lot of the fingers have been pointed at Daniel Jones. And I understand the guy is not Tom Brady, right? He's not Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't deserve to get credit. He doesn't deserve to be praised. But I don't think he's the sole reason this team is not where they want to be this year. I think Daniel Jones has shown flashes. I think Daniel Jones has shown a capacity to throw the football effectively. I think Daniel Jones has shown an athletic upside that we didn't know he really possessed. And I think this offense has mostly, the reason they're not great is mostly due to the lack of good play calling and the lack of just overall game plans offensively that are effective. And then secondly, the offensive line is in an absolute you-know-what. It stinks. So those two in combination make it very hard for Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, or anyone else in this offense to have sustained success. But I will say, Freddie Kitchens is an upgrade for this offense. And I think he's an upgrade in terms of the running game. I think he's an upgrade in terms of the offensive line because he is an offensive line guy. I think he's an upgrade in terms of Saquon Barkley. And I'm hoping that they now play Kadarius Toney more with Freddie Kitchens at the helm. But the Giants are still a bad team. They just feel a little bit dysfunctional, especially offensively, but I'm hoping with Jason Garrett being out and Freddie Kitchens in, that will help. Now, defensively, I think they're solid. Obviously, they can't hang with the talent of the BUCS, but they're certainly a solid defense, and they won't necessarily be out-coached on that side of the ball. I think they have a good coaching staff on that side of the ball. They do have a big front and a solid secondary as well. So the Giants are just a team that I think a lot of things have gone wrong for them this year, and we have to look towards next year to really find the answers. 2 first-round picks. They have a chance to build on this roster that I don't think is too far away from being a team in contention in at least the playoff conversation. At number 26, the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta is in a worse way than the Giants. Roster-wise, long-term direction, Atlanta is in a way worse spot than the New York Giants. The Giants have way more young talent, way more youth, way more reason to have some positivity. Atlanta has very little positivity mixed in here, and they're going to have to go through a full rebuild. And I'm almost starting to question, why is Matt Ryan still on this roster? On Thursday night, I was just thinking to myself, obviously New England was very impressive and their defense dominated, but I was starting to question, why is Matt Ryan still on this team? Why haven't they traded this guy? Why haven't they tried to rebuild this team? What is the point? And I just feel like Atlanta is so far away. They just don't have the talent on the offensive line. Without Calvin Ridley, they're bare bones at the skill positions. They don't have a running back. Cordell Patterson is their running back this year. The defense, outside of A.J. Terrell in the secondary, there's a lot of questions. Outside of Grady Jarrett in the front seven and Deion Jones, there's a lot of questions. So they've got a lot of things to scrap and rebuild. And I honestly feel like Arthur Smith, Dean Pease have done a good job this year with the talent that they have at their disposal, because it's not very good at all whatsoever. So at number 26, I have Atlanta. At number 25, I've got the Miami Dolphins. So I've moved the Dolphins up. I don't think you should move them too far up, and the reason I'll say that is because they've played some very bad teams. And yes, they're on a winning streak, but they've beat very bad teams outside of Baltimore. And I will say I've liked what I've seen for the most part, especially from the defense, having a little bit of a resurgence under Brian Flores, being more aggressive, playing better man-to-man coverage. Tua has looked decent since his return, playing efficient football, getting rid of the ball quickly. And hopefully he gets some of his weapons back soon with Will Fuller, and Jalen Waddle's been there, but with also Devontae Parker. Hopefully those guys can get in there, and then maybe the Dolphins can have a strong push to the end of the season here and boost their record up. But they still have a lot of questions to answer this offseason when it comes to Tua, when it comes to the offensive line, when it comes to a couple things, with their defense, and the overall skill positions need to be answered at running back, at wide receiver long term needs to be a solution there. So Miami is probably in a worse spot than I ever would have thought, at the end of this year. Like, I thought they were going to be not as good as people thought. Like, I thought they would miss the playoffs. I thought they'd kind of be average at best. And that wasn't necessarily the expectations. The expectations were to make the playoffs for the Dolphins. But I didn't think it would be this bleak when it comes to Miami's long-term future. And most of that has to do with, is Tua the guy or not? A lot of it has to do with the offensive line. A lot of it has to do with the skill positions. But yeah, Miami is a really interesting case at the end of this season. At number 24, the Washington football team. I've got Washington at 24. I think they've played better football over the last couple weeks. Of course, you could rank them higher due to their recent play, but I just don't see a lot of upside with this team. Obviously, they're capable of upsets as they upset both the BUCS and the Panthers, but I just don't think this team's really going anywhere. I think they're just a little bit better than the worst teams in football. They're not playing as bad of defense anymore, and that's been a big difference. Heineke as well is playing better. He's kind of hit a hot streak, but you expect that to regress at some point. So it's cool to see Washington is playing better football, but I'm not believing in them in anything more than just a little bit better than the worst teams in the league. And I think that's exactly what they are. They're going to give you a little bit more of a fight. They've got a solid coaching staff. They've got decent areas of their football team that you look at and say that's a good position group, but you're not super impressed with the product at the end of the day. So at number 24, Washington. At number 23, the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle has moved down drastically in recent weeks. I think their offense looks absolutely just discombobulated. They do not have an identity offensively. Russell Wilson's playing the worst football I've ever seen him play. He is playing bad. And the offensive line is not really the problem, which is scary because that's typically been the problem. The wide receiving core has been invisible at times. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, invisible. The defense is, yes, not giving up a ton of points, but a ton of time of possession and yards. And those two things are keeping Russell Wilson to short drives, right? Seahawks are going 3 and out. They're punting. They're not seeing the ball again for another 7 minutes. Then they get the ball back. They can't sustain any rhythm. This team is out. They're done for the year, and it was a great run, but they will not make the playoffs this year and probably won't have a winning record either. At number 22, the Denver Broncos. The Broncos, I don't even know what to think about this team. They're well coached defensively, but they've lost a lot of talent up front. They've had a lot of injuries. They traded Von Miller. Their secondary is good, though, and that can be a real tough matchup for a lot of teams. Their offense can run the ball well, but they don't really... I feel like they don't utilize Javonte Williams enough. I feel like they need to at the end of this season. And Teddy Bridgewater just isn't it. We know that. And the pass protection could be better. The scheme could be better in the passing game for sure. I think the Broncos are, as a team, looking to build their roster to be somewhat attractive to a veteran quarterback to come and play there next year. And then that will be the goal for them. I think they're a team that won't make the playoffs. I won't even consider them for a playoff spot. But they're definitely an average football team this year. At number 21, I've got the Las Vegas Raiders. I've got the Vegas Raiders slightly ahead of Denver. I mean, they're really interchangeable. They've played really bad in recent weeks. Their defense is still playing okay, although they got shredded by Mahomes and company. They bounced back versus the Bengals for the most part. They did struggle with Joe Mixon, but kept Joe Burrow to under 200 yards, still getting a good pass rush, still defending the pass fairly well. But the offense is really the reason they're not the same team. Derek Carr is not the same guy. The offensive line is just come and go. It's inconsistent. The pass protection's inconsistent, especially at tackle. And the run game is not nearly as good as it's been the last 2 to 3 years due to the offensive line. All those guys leaving, Hudson, Trent Brown, and company, all of them left, Gabe Jackson. So the run game just since the start has not been sustainable for them or consistent. The wide receiving core without Henry Ruggs has taken a significant hit, especially when it comes to downfield options. And John Gruden not being there has hurt the red zone offense and the third down offense. And those things are evident in wins and losses. And that's what I see from the Raiders. We'll see if they can pull off an upset on Thanksgiving, but I don't see too much from them moving forward. At number 20, the New Orleans Saints. Similar for the Raiders and the Saints here. Two teams that were playing good football at the beginning of the year, feel like maybe feisty teams, maybe felt like teams that could make a little bit of a wild card push this season. But the New Orleans Saints have sustained a lot of key injuries. Alvin Kamara, Ryan Ramczyk, Teron Armstead, they've been dealing with defensive injuries all year, but mostly they're healthy now. And the quarterback position without Jameis Winston, I understand that Jameis Winston isn't like an elite guy, but he's a capable starting option. And Trevor Siemian is not dreadful, but he's just not enough, right? And this receiving core is not enough. They don't scare anybody. They wouldn't scare me in a local high school field. I mean, it's just a joke. So Sean Payton's a great coach. They do have a good defense, but that defense has regressed, and therefore the Saints are starting to pick up some losses. So at number 20, I have the Saints. I just don't think they're going to be able to make the playoffs this year despite a strong start. At number 19, the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are slightly ahead of the Saints. The Panthers are weird because I felt like they played kind of well versus Washington, but they found themselves on the back end of the game. They lost the game, in a close one-score fashion. The offense, I thought, played fairly well. Cam Newton was efficient with the football. I thought he ran well, actually looked pretty fast on that touchdown. McCaffrey's playing good football. Robbie Anderson's more involved. The offensive line is kind of spotty, but the defense kind of disappointed me. This is a defense I've been hyping up all year. I think they've been playing well all year, and they just didn't come through with enough key plays for them to win that game. But I think Cam gives them a chance. At least they're more entertaining to watch. They're more fun to root for, but I just don't think they're enough to get to the playoffs. The schedule is really tough down the stretch. Playing a team like Buffalo, playing a team like Tampa Bay twice. So it's going to be tough for the Panthers to make that wild card position. I will say one thing that might have been a little bit underestimated is the fact that Carolina, with the new quarterback in Cam Newton, not to say Cam Newton is the problem, but to say that Cam Newton has only been on the team for about 10 days. So that means you're not able to really put in a full playbook, and you're at a disadvantage with your offense in comparison to a lot of other teams. So at number 19, I have Carolina. At number 18, the Cleveland Browns. They stink. I wanted to put them lower, but it's really hard to. I mean, they got the win versus Detroit, although it was as ugly as I've ever seen. And Baker Mayfield needs to stop playing. He's got to sit on the bench. He's got to let Case Keenum play because that's what's best for the team. I understand, Baker, that's not what's best for you. But if you're the Cleveland Browns, if you're Kevin Stefanski, you got to seriously contemplate sitting down Baker Mayfield at the very least until he's fully healthy. The guy is not healthy right now. He sucks. He threw 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions versus the Detroit Lions, guys. 2 interceptions, more interceptions than touchdowns versus the Detroit Lions. That is a disgrace. The defense is come and go, very inconsistent. The offense still can run the ball on just about anybody except for the New England Patriots, but the passing game is not good enough, and their defense is not what we thought it would be. I just don't think this Cleveland team has it this year. They just don't have the vibe of a team that's going to put it together to make the playoffs. At number 17, the Philadelphia Eagles. I understand this is a drastic move for the Philadelphia Eagles, but I have to admit I've been impressed with the product on the field. Like I've said many times with the Eagles in recent weeks, they are playing really competent football, and they understand who they are on both sides of the ball. Now, I still think there's a little bit left to be desired there defensively where they could be better. I feel like they could be a little bit more aggressive and make some more plays, but at least they don't give up a lot of big plays, and that keeps them in games. Offensively, they're more dynamic than they get credit for. Jalen Hurts gives them a little bit of an edge in that department in terms of his ability to make scramble plays. And then in the running game, they're as good as anybody at the moment. Their offensive line is extremely good. Jason Kelce's playing amazing football. I think the Eagles are a team that could threaten for a wild card spot. I wouldn't be too surprised given the way they're playing right now and the schedule they have. At number 16, the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers, I have as a team that I don't believe in, but they fight, right? They fought in that game versus the Chargers with all the injuries they had. TJ Watt not playing, Minka not playing. Those are two very important players to their team. Those guys not playing, I thought the Chargers should win that game quite handily. And they were winning that game quite handily, but they fought back. They came back, right? So credit them for that. I don't think the Steelers will make the playoffs. I don't think Ben is good enough. I don't think the O-line is good enough. I don't think the scheme offensively is good enough. If they can get healthy on defense, though, they'll play with everybody and they'll give everybody a tough time. Mike Tomlin's a good coach. I just don't think they have what it takes offensively to quite make it. But they're not a team that I completely dismiss, right? They're proven, they're tough, they play a physical brand of ball, and at this time of the year, that may help them, and that may play to their benefit to get one or two upsets that we might not see coming. So at 16, I got the Steelers. At number 15, I have the LA Chargers, and this might be a lot lower than some people have them, but I've been a lot lower on the Chargers as of late, and it's because I know what they are now. I understand Justin Herbert's amazing. I understand Keenan Allen is great. I understand Mike Williams makes big plays. I understand Austin Eckler is probably the pound-for-pound strongest player in football. But their defense is so inconsistent. They have clear flaws. They can't stop the run. Now they're giving up big plays in the passing game at times that just make you scratch your head. Their offense, I just think scheme-wise, is not dynamic enough. It's not, diverse enough. It's not diverse enough to scare defenses that are well taught and have good coaches. Like when the Chargers have played great DCs this year, and when Joe Lombardi's offense has played Bill Belichick and has played Don Martindale, they have been destroyed. So that is my problem with the Chargers. Yes, they beat the Steelers, but don't be all excited because of that, because they were expected to beat the Steelers. They should have beaten the Steelers by more, but the problem is they're the Chargers, and they're going to Charger. And that game shouldn't have been close. If the Chargers were for real, they should have won that game by double digits, and they did not. And that is what's disappointing. I get it looks exciting. It looks electric, but it's just not great, okay? They probably make the playoffs, but I don't see them winning a playoff game at this point just due to the talent in terms of their play style. They're going to have to get an absolutely perfect matchup for them to win a playoff game. And I'm just not sure they're capable of doing that. I love Justin Herbert. I love Brandon Staley. I think this team has a bright future. I just don't think they play the right brand of football right now. They have too many flaws that are clear and identifiable, and I just can't get behind that when I'm really ranking these teams. At number 14, the 49ers. The 49ers are an example of a team that I feel are starting to round into form, and I do feel have more diversity and more versatility to what they can do and how they can match up with teams than a team like the Chargers. A big deal to me in the NFL, especially when it comes to winning in the playoffs, is you need to be able to be versatile in the way that you can match up with teams. So if a team is good versus the run, you got to be able to pass. If a team's good versus the pass, you got to be able to run. If a team runs the ball well, you got to be able to pass, right? Or you got to be able to stop the run. So my thing is you got to have a multitude of ways to win games. And the 49ers appear to have that at the moment. Their defense is playing a lot better, are tackling better. Fred Warner has gotten his head out of his rear end. Defensive line-wise, they're solid. D'Amico Ryans, I think, has done a decent job. The only real deficiency is the secondary, especially the corner position. The safeties are pretty solid. But the offense, I feel, is really getting it going. They've been the number one most effective and efficient offense in the last couple of weeks. And that is due to Jimmy Garoppolo playing better football. That is due to George Kittle coming back. That is due to the animal that is Deebo Samuel and the resurgence of Brandon Ayuk. But most importantly, Kyle Shanahan has found what this team is good at. And he's really, really picked on other teams with the running game, with the passing game. And I feel like the 49ers are playing good football and on their way to a playoff spot at number 14. Now, they take on a team that is about at the same level, and that is the Minnesota Vikings. This week, it's a huge game. They're right next to each other in the power rankings, and because they're very close. The Vikings, I put ahead of the Niners because they just beat the Packers in a close game. And secondly, I feel like they've been more consistent throughout the season. The 49ers have kind of come on as of late. The Vikings have been more consistent from week one out. Kirk Cousins is playing great. I think Justin Jefferson's playing like the best receiver in the league. I think Adam Thielen's still playing well. The defense, even with the injuries, are playing well. So I don't think the Vikings are a contender, but I think they're like a team that if they make the playoffs, they'll give any team they play a good game. And that's what I think the Vikings are. So at number 13, I've got Minnesota. The offense looks really good right now too. At number 12, the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals impressed me with how they were able to blow out the Raiders. You know, they responded after the bye and played well. Joe Mixon saw 30 carries in that game, had over 100 yards, I think 130 or something like that, and played really well. You know, I think their identity should be running the ball more and utilizing play action to create big plays with Jamar Chase, with T. Higgins. That's the way to go for me to protect this offensive line. Take a page out of the old Sean McVay playbook if you're Zach Taylor. And then defensively, they're not bad. They're not good. They are a defense. And I think they play pretty sound defense. I think this week they've got the Steelers. They've typically dominated the Steelers. We'll see how that goes. That's a big game in the AFC wildcard race. I would favor them to win this game. Burrow is, not elite, but he's certainly a good football player and has this team with a confidence that is certainly there. So at number 12, I've got the Bengals as currently a playoff team in the AFC. At number 11, we've got the Buffalo Bills, which is a big drop, I understand, but I have just not been impressed with anything I've seen from the Bills over the last 3 weeks. Yes, they beat the Jets. I do not care. I think the local middle school team could beat the Jets, okay? The New England Patriots are playing the better football in the AFC East, and that's scary to me. The Buffalo Bills, they have so many, and this is my problem. I think the Bills right now are almost a better version of what the Chargers are, right? They have a more proven coach, defensive-minded coach. They have a better offensive coordinator. They have similar athletic quarterbacks with big arms. They've got deficiencies where you could take advantage of that offensive line. They don't really have, I would say the Chargers have the better running game. The Bills' running game is non-existent, right? And then the defense for the Bills is better than the Chargers and more well-rounded, but you can still run the ball on the Bills. If you play power football, you can push them around as proven by the Colts. So the Bills just in playoff football in bad weather, I don't think they're made or built to win those type of games. And that game versus the Colts proved it to me. And I am concerned about them when it comes to January. That is what I'm looking at right now in terms of ranking these teams. So at number 11, I have the Bills. I get it. They're still good. I still like Josh Allen and company. I just don't love them anymore, and I've dropped them down, and I think the reasons for it are very, very understandable. So let's get to the top 10. At number 10, we got the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts have moved ahead of the Bills and into the top 10 for, I believe, the first time this season. The Colts run the ball very well and effectively. Now they'll face their biggest test this season, taking on a Tampa Bay run defense that's been the best in football over the past 3 years combined. And obviously they play Tom Brady on the opposite side of the ball. So this will be a true test for the Colts in terms of, can they really be a contender, or are they just a team that could make the playoffs, right? There's a difference between the two. There are playoff teams and there are contenders. If the Colts can beat the BUCS at home, they're a contender in the AFC, in my personal opinion. If they lose, they're just kind of what I thought they were. They're better than an average team. They're not quite a contender, but they definitely have a matchup where they can take advantage of teams like the Chargers and the Bills. And when you can't play physical football, the Colts will beat you down. But I think the problem will be when they play teams like Tampa Bay, they're not going to be able to impose their will. And we'll see on Sunday how that goes. But I have the Colts at number 10. The Wentz is playing well. Taylor is playing the best running back in football. The D-line's playing well. The O-line's playing well. Frank Reich's coaching well. Got to give them credit. At number 9, the Tennessee Titans. Moved down a lot. I think you could argue, if you were to rank the top 10 teams in terms of quality of play at this moment in time, the Titans do not belong here. But at number 9, I have the Titans because I have respect for what they did earlier in the year, but I also have to balance out the recent product. The offense has been, quite frankly, one of the worst offenses in football over the last 3 weeks. And that is a big time concern, especially heading into a matchup playing the best defense in the NFL in the New England Patriots. That is a big concern, especially on the road. The defense is good. They've got a good front four. They have a solid secondary with playmakers, and they're coached very well, especially on defense. But the offense leaves a lot to be desired. Their run game isn't the same without Derrick Henry. A.J. Brown's constantly in and out of the lineup, and even when he's in the lineup, he isn't really the same player. Julio's out, which means they don't have any other options to throw the ball to. It is concerning for the Titans in this matchup moving forward and for the rest of the season, because I think their offense, the way they're playing, if they don't get better offensively, they are going to lose games to teams that they probably are better than, because when you have a bad offense, you leave teams opportunities to win games. So at number 9, the Titans. At number 8, the Baltimore Ravens. So at number 8, I've got the Ravens. I think the Ravens prove to me that they can win without Lamar. And that's very impressive because I think Lamar is one of the 3 most valuable football players there is because of what he means to the Ravens and specifically their offensive system and how he carries their team. Now, I think that's because they're very well coached. They play very good complementary football. And the Ravens have a solid running game. The concern for the Ravens offensively is when they have to get into a drop back passing game. Do they have enough of a repertoire of like all these different passes? The diversity of the passing game is a little bit limited, and they struggle to pick up blitzes and pressure. And that's something that I think will hurt them in the playoffs. But defensively, they're solid. They're not fantastic. They're not bad. They are situationally good in the red zone and on third down. They've got some good players in the secondary. They've got a strong run defense. And I think they're a capable AFC team. If Lamar can carry them in January, they can be a team to make the Super Bowl. I just don't think that he's going to be able to do that by himself. And they're going to need other players to help out. So at number 8, I've got the Ravens. At number 7, the LA Rams. The Rams... we're just on a bye week. They're coming off the bye week. They've got a huge game versus the Green Bay Packers, who are higher than them on the power rankings this week. I think we'll see if they figured some stuff out. I think the biggest concern about the Rams is that, like the Bills, they've been pushed around. They have been out-physicaled, and they have been Charmin soft in recent weeks. And Matthew Stafford has played not as well. The offense have kind of been figured out to a certain degree. We'll see how they involve OBJ into the offense in replacing Robert Woods. I definitely hope he plays well with this team. They need to get back to running the ball a little bit more. I think they've missed that from Henderson and company. The defense, I think, is not great versus the run, but very good and creative in terms of getting after the quarterback. So we'll see how they involve Von Miller and OBJ after the bye and how Stafford looks, how McVay fixes things. So I have optimism about the Rams. They have a lot of talent. I just do have my concerns from recent weeks. So that's why they're at 7. At number 6, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are the number 2 team in the AFC at this moment in time. Of course, this moment in time. The Chiefs have still Patrick Mahomes, who to me hasn't been an elite quarterback this year, but he's still Patrick Mahomes and capable of making game-changing throws and plays. The offensive line is a lot better than it gets credit for. They can be physical. They can run the ball. The thing is with the Chiefs, they don't really choose to, okay? The Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce combo is still good, although not as dominant as it was last year or the year before, because I think Kelce has declined a little bit. And they don't really have a third receiver, which I think is hurting them. The offense is still not back yet, right? The offense is maybe a tad bit better than it was 2-3 weeks ago, but it's not back yet. You don't see it. The Cowboys still kind of shut them down, but the defense is back. The Chiefs' defense looks like right now they're playing like a top 10 unit. They're getting after the quarterback. Steve Spagnuolo's coaching his ass off. Frank Clark's playing better. Chris Jones is playing amazing. The secondary's playing sticky coverage. I like what the Chiefs are doing defensively, but they need to get back on offense before I put them in the top 5. At number 5, the Dallas Cowboys. I do have the Cowboys ahead of the Chiefs because they've played better for a majority of the year, and I think a big reason the Cowboys lost the Chiefs is because of all the injuries they had. So I think that's a big factor, right? Here's the problem with the Cowboys, which they're going to be evaluated similarly to how the BUCS have been evaluated all year, which is incorrectly despite them being hurt, right? So Amari Cooper's hurt. CeeDee Lamb is hurt now. Tyron Smith is hurt. DeMarcus Lawrence is hurt. Randy Gregory is hurt. That's a lot of good football players that are injured, right? At key positions. So this is the same thing that I was talking about with the BUCS for a majority of the year. Is like, okay, this guy's hurt, that guy's hurt, this guy's hurt, that guy's hurt. Like, that's going to obviously hurt the product and consistency of that football team and what they are as an identity. And it's tough to adjust week to week with all the injuries. And that's why teams lose in the NFL. But I still think they're a top 5 team. I'm not sure if I can pick them over the BUCS, you know, the Packers in the NFC to get to the Super Bowl, but they're certainly a threat. Dak is still playing good, although he had kind of a bad game, a stinker last week. At number 4, I have the New England Patriots. And the reason I have them at number 4 is because I think if they played the Dallas Cowboys right now, they would beat the Dallas Cowboys. That has something to do with injuries, but it also has to do with level of play at this moment in time on Tuesday, November 23rd, 2021. The Patriots are playing the best complementary football, in my personal opinion, in the NFL, and that speaks to their point differential, which ranks first in the NFL. They also rank first in DVOA in the NFL. They are by far the best team over the last 5 weeks of the season, and that's what matters most. Mac Jones is not getting really, a lot of praise. He's being talked up a lot, and I definitely see it. I just feel like a lot of fans are reluctant to give him praise. I think here's the thing with Mac Jones. Mac Jones will not truly ever be known how great he is until the Patriots and Bill Belichick actually force him, and more importantly, the opponent of Mac Jones puts him in a position where he has to make plays. Until that happens, the Patriots will not ask him to win the game, because that is not what they are. They're a run-first team, and they're a defense team, and they're a special teams team. And in a league that is so close right now and is so competitive, when you have the coaching advantage, when you have the defense advantage, when you have the special teams advantage, and you're good in the run game, and you're physical, and you're well-schooled in situational football, you can be a very good team, and you can win the Super Bowl. All right, can you please kick that person out in the chat? If you are in the chat, please boot him out of the chat. But we've got at number 4, the Patriots. I think I've described it well enough at number 4. At number 3, I've got the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I'm going to have to get on YouTube because it appears that none of my mods are in here at the moment. So I'm going to have to get on YouTube and kick this guy out of the chat. It's very, very, very discouraging here. But appreciate you guys sticking with me. If you haven't already, make sure you do Gronk Spike that like button. I'm going to name Natasha right now a mod. Give me a sec here. Maybe Tessa too. Let me see. So we got Natasha. Okay. It's so hard because... Okay. Natasha is a mod. I'm going to boot this guy out. All right. Here we go, guys. Sorry about that. So at number 3, we got the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are really good. And I think I've been a little bit reluctant to believe in the Cardinals, but at a certain point, you have to believe. And again, don't misconstrue this as me saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. Okay, that's not the case. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl. But I do think they're a good team. And I do think they're going to be a challenge for everyone they play in the playoffs. And that's a lot more than what I would have said a few weeks ago, right? And I think I believe that now because they're winning games without Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. So that is very impressive. And Cliff Kingsbury, man, he's got cool sunglasses. He's got a great haircut, great facial hair. I mean, he's a handsome dude. Give him credit. He's doing well. And he might be the coach of the year. I mean, he might be. The defense isn't great, right? J.J. Watt was a big loss for them, and I think that's really going to hurt them in the playoffs. But they're still playing good, and I think a lot of credit, again, goes to the coaching staff. I think the number one thing I underestimate about this team is not the talent. We knew that was there. The coaching staff. And that was my biggest criticism that held me back from predicting this team to be a playoff team and a contender, was I did not believe in the coaching staff. And they have completely turned that on me and shoved it in my face. So I just want to say here, as a man, I am sorry, Cardinals, and I'm sorry, Cardinals fans. Okay? You are good, and you deserve to be in the top 3. How about that? Okay? At number 3, the Cardinals. All right. At number 2, I've got Tampa Bay. Now, I could still put Tampa Bay at number 1, but I think a lot of people would yell at me. But I will say this, okay? And I've said this so many times, it actually hurts my head. But when Tampa Bay does not beat themselves, there's nobody that can beat them in the NFL, period. When Tampa Bay is healthy, when Tampa Bay plays their best football, they are the best team in the NFL. And I don't know if it's particularly close. I say this every single week, and it feels like a broken record. The BUCS are the most talented team in the NFL, but they play like idiots, okay, for a majority of the games. But here's the thing with Tampa Bay. We know that when they get hot, they stay hot, and they are very good when they are hot. They do have, in my opinion, when are healthy, okay, they do have a top 10 defense when healthy. Now, it hasn't been this year because they haven't been healthy. The offense is the best in football, period. Especially when Antonio Brown is there. I mean, they have been, and what I love about the offense this year, which actually makes me believe in Tampa Bay more, is their first down efficiency this year has been absolutely incredible. And I have to credit Byron Leftwich, Tom Brady, and Bruce Arians, yes, Bruce Arians too, for their decisions on first down. They are playing very good first down football on offense. They're passing the ball at a very high rate, and that's putting them in very good second and third downs if they get to third down. Right? We saw what a jump it was to have Gronk back, who looked good on Monday night. But when they get AB back, they're basically unstoppable. So the offense is really, really good. The defense, when they get their full secondary in there, they're going to be a real challenge because now they're going to start to get back to what they're good at, which is man-to-man coverage, and then you're in trouble. So at number 2, I think the BUCS are personally the best team, but their inconsistencies put them at number 2. All right? So at number 1, I have the more consistent team, which is the Green Bay Packers. Yes, the Packers lost the Vikings, but I understand that the Packers lost the Vikings. I predicted it to happen, so it doesn't really change my outcome for this team or how I feel about this team. The 2 best teams in football are the Packers and the BUCS, the NFC Championship from a year ago, and right now, if I had to make a wager, one of these 2 teams will win the Super Bowl. That's how I feel. I think these are the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL. I think Matt LaFleur is an extremely underrated coach. Their offensive line is not really healthy, but even when it isn't, it's still good. Aaron Jones isn't healthy right now, although, you know, he's an impact, but he's not like A.J. Dillon is right now their best running back, which is pretty crazy. And Devontae Adams is awesome. We know this. I think the one question they have offensively is the secondary targets at the receiving position, and that's really it. Defensively, they're good. And here's the thing with the defense. I understand why they got diced up by Kirk Cousins. First off, the Vikings have a good offense. Second of all, they're very hurt on that side of the ball. If they can get healthier, they can be very capable in the playoffs. And that's what it's all about for the Packers and the Bucs. I almost feel like whoever is healthier in that game when they eventually play will win the game. And that's kind of what I feel. Even though the Bucs have been kind of a bad matchup for Green Bay, that's kind of the way the outcome feels in the playoffs this year, is like, who's the healthy team? And Rodgers is still playing well. What else can I say about this team? I just think their play calling every week is very good. I think their offensive scheme is very effective. They're very good on third down and in the red zone. They're way better coached on defense this year than they were a year ago, and I think that's been a difference. Even though they've not been as good on offense, I think their defense has been that much better. So that makes them the number one team right now. At number one this week for Week 12 is the Packers. So there you guys go. Those are my Week 12 NFL Power Rankings. If you haven't already, make sure you do Gronk spike that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new for more NFL. And also, Gronk, spike that notification bell for the latest upload. Let me know in the comments how you feel. I'll stick around for a couple more minutes here, and then I'm going to go probably on a walk. So let me know how you feel about my top 32. 1-5 in the NFC Championship. Yes. I think he's 1-3, but I get your point. Bobby says Colts will beat any of those teams. Wow. And Jonathan Taylor and Darius Leonard and Michael Pittman with Wentz will take them all the way. You heard it here first. Interesting. Anthony says Pats could beat the Packers. Gravity says go Pack, go. Tessa says that's sad. What's up, Tessa? How you doing? You sad that your Seahawks are really low on the list? And she says that the Pats are so overrated. To quote Adam Sandler, I disagree. I'm going to make the playoffs? Damn. Natasha says, whether you're a fan of the Pats or not, you got to admit we've been dominating over the past 5 weeks. What else we got? Go Cowboys. I'm going to call them Zoint. What's up, bro? Lego, my ego, says I appreciate your fair assessment of the Chiefs. Thank you, sir. I'm always trying to be fair. I understand that Chiefs fans can be frustrated with me, but just understand that my take on every team is just personally how I feel about the team. I mean, I might be right, I might be wrong. Everyone's wrong at times, but that is my honest assessment of teams. I don't really lie ever. It's more so just how I feel. So if I'm saying something about your team, it's personally just how I feel about them. It's not, it has nothing to do with hatred or anything like that. Easy Smart says, sup, man? What's going on, bro? Thanks for joining. Mitch is the best team in the NFL. I agree. Which Patriots team do you think is the best apart from 2007? I'd probably say 2004. Do I do MLB streams? I do not. This is only an NFL channel. For the moment, at least. And is it Silo? Says pretty high on the Steelers given the rankings. I'm with you on your assessment, and coming from a 20-year-old fan, only thing I'll disagree with is I think they need to move on from Tomlin. I don't think so, bro. I don't think they got to move on from Tomlin. I think Tomlin's a good coach. A lot of upsets this year. Yep. If I'll eventually do, maybe in the offseason, I'll do a Patriots rankings for their best teams. So maybe I won't give that away, but I have some takes. I definitely have some hot takes when it comes to the Pats and their best teams. The Bengals were what number? Nope, not 14. 12. Can I do a stream of quarterbacks? Do you mean like ranking quarterbacks? I do that at the end of every season, Tessa. I do a whole month of ranking every position. So you're definitely going to see that at some point this offseason. What do I think of the Panthers putting Gilly on a play-by-play watch due to a torn quad on McLaurin late in the game when he was dusting other corners? It's interesting. I guess he's just not healthy enough to play 100%. I'm going to take the word of the coaching staff there, but yeah. I honestly don't know because I don't know how he feels. Or how the coaching staff feels. 2001. I mean, you could argue from a talent perspective. Do you mean their best as in most entertaining season? I mean, you could argue that, I guess. But from a team perspective, I don't think they're in that conversation. I think they were sort of a Cinderella story. Is Andrew Thomas good? Yes. More historic content? Gotcha. Especially off-season. Off-season's kind of the time to do that. You know, if I really have the urge to do it during the season, then I'll do it. But biggest surprise and disappointment for the season. Biggest surprise is the lack of true AFC dominant teams. Disappointment is maybe Cleveland. Probably Cleveland. How far do you think the Pats will make it in the playoffs? At this moment, I think they will at least make the AFC Championship. That's my expectations, at least. Not that I'll be angry if they make the divisional round, but I think if they won a playoff game, this season would be truly a success, 100%. But my expectation, given the climate of the AFC, given how well the team's playing, is the AFC Championship. Tessa, they suck right now. What do you want me to say? They suck. I like the Seahawks. They suck, though. All right. That is it, guys. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to Gronk spike that like button. We will see you soon. Tomorrow will be picks for Week 12. And not sure if I'll be putting maybe a clip from the bottom line. I'll throw it out there as well. If you haven't already seen the weekly review, check it out. Had a lot of rants on there, as well as my early look at the Week 12 lines. If you haven't checked that out, I also put that out yesterday. You could support me on Patreon. Link is in the description. If you want to become a bigger fan of the channel and myself, you could check out Patreon. We've got multiple tiers for you to support me at, as well as getting exclusive content that is not seen on YouTube, like my bets every week on the NFL and the BLV vs. Consensus podcast, which we are recording probably tonight. So we will see you. Peace.